What we thought might be quite useful is to talk about a little bit how Chris and I met up, because it's quite relevant to this journey that we're now on, building this extraordinary model that's Keller Williams. And I thought it might be useful for people tuning in to hear the perspective of somebody like Chris. And much as I don't like to say this in public, but bright, young, extremely capable, and what we call learning based. So what he is now, he's going to be a lot better, which from my point of view makes him a really exciting prospect. So I thought it might be useful if we have a bit of a conversation about that journey, Chris, and for you to share your perspective.
Sure.
Okay. So let's start right at the beginning. Let's hear it from your side rather than mine. So meeting up, first of all, what was it you were looking to do? What did you want to build?
So I have set up an agency before. I sold that to my business partner at the back end of last year. I was moving my life back down to London from the Midlands, and I wanted to build an agency that was a little bit different, but I needed the right-hand man, which is why we got speaking. And we had a bit of a plan, and we were looking at that, and then you disappeared, didn't you, Ben? Where did you go?
Well, I actually went to Vegas, but it's not quite like it sounds, is it? I went out to an event called Family Reunion. It's the biggest event that we have as Keller Williams. And so I rocked up, not having joined Keller, but to go and find out about the business. And there was 20,000 people in one room, which was quite the sight. It was like a U2 concert with no Bono. And then you've got this fellow, Gary Keller, on stage talking about how to build a great life. And the first day or so, really nobody even spoke about real estate. It was really talking about how do you help people make something of themselves and feel really fulfilled. So for me, by the end of that week, it was pretty transformational. I was in, and that's when Chris and I then had another conversation to say, listen, I'm not going to do that with you, but this is something we ought to talk about because it's a pretty big deal.
Yeah, it was like dating and then someone going cold on the other person for a week, so I was pretty hurt. But then Ben came back and said, listen, come on in, I've found this amazing opportunity and I'd like to introduce you to it. I was really sceptical, it won't work for these reasons. I came in, I managed to speak to Diane, who was absolutely brilliant, got the chance to speak to her and really just thrash out what it would look like in the UK and what we could offer agents. And then similar to, I think Ben brought the energy and enthusiasm back from Vegas, and I was in as well. It was an absolute no-brainer. And I think the big thing for me that kind of sealed the deal was we get to go in, help agents create an absolute great life. It's not about greed for me or for Ben. If Keller Williams does well, we'll do well, great. But we give the agent the chance to go and grow a great life. And like Ben said, it's not necessarily about estate agency and what's going on in the industry, whilst that is relevant. It's about you as the individual, what can you go and create? And so for me, yeah, I'm in as well. So that's pretty much how we met in a nutshell.
All through my adult life, my big motivation is to help people have what they want and think in ways that help them get what they want when they want it. So having Keller come along, they basically have the right systems and processes and detailed support of how you help people to do that. So for me, it was a real perfect fit. And the fundamentals, if we probably should share this too, fundamentally we share the same view about the estate agency model in the UK. And I always think of it in these three ways. One is, it's inarguable that you get paid a fairly low basic salary in this role. And for that basic salary, all your time gets bought by whoever pays you that salary. And then we always think about, people talk about commission, they say, well, I get 5% or I get 10%. And it's really interesting to me because I've always thought of it in terms of, you mean you give away 95%? And whenever you say that to somebody, they always kind of think, oh, crikey, I'd never really looked at it in that way. And the final piece that I think I know we both agree on, and that's fundamental to the UK, is that you don't keep your own clients. You do an amazing job with all of those clients, and then if you ever change company, those clients stay with the company that paid you the basic. And therefore, it's really hard to create any wealth. So if we can help people build and create wealth, and at the same time help them have a perspective that helps them build a happier and more fulfilling life, I think that's frankly, a privilege and an amazing opportunity.
It is a privilege, and we have to make sure we add that value proposition. We have to make sure that you don't want to take your clients and leave. So we constantly have to feed you, to nurture you, to give you some crazy, scary technology that we've evolved out, to teach you our systems, our models, our processes, so that we constantly add that value. Because really, as Ben said, you can download your contacts and leave. They're not ours, they're not Keller Williams, they're yours as the agent. So we have to constantly strive to improve and make sure that by being part of us, yes, you're creating some great wealth, but we're pushing you and you're constantly evolving. And again, that's fundamentally different to anything I've seen in agency in the UK.
And where can you open a business in a real sense? Where can you open a business for a few £100s and literally be up and running? Certainly in estate agents, I mean, even if you wanted to do it on the lowest scale possible, I mean, you're going to need to spend tens of thousands of pounds to get the thing set up. But with Keller Williams, we're able now to plug an agent in, get them up and running, literally get properties on and on the websites, on the main property portals for a few £100s. And I think that's an incredibly exciting opportunity.
It is, and I was speaking to an agent over the weekend who said, yeah, Keller sounds quite good, but I'm thinking of doing my own thing. And I said, well, respectfully, do you want to work in the business or work on it? Because I think you're brilliant at valuing, but from what you've just told me, your skill set might not be negotiating a contract with Rightmove, setting up the website. What you're absolutely brilliant at is going out and valuing properties, delivering excellent service to the client. So why don't you just focus on that and let me take the pain away from you on something that you probably won't enjoy, and you've actually just told me you're not that good at. Go and focus on what's really great. And I think another point that always links in here is, in agency in the UK, if you're a really good valuer, you get told you're not valuing because you get pushed up to manager, and then you don't value as much, and then you might be an area director or what have you. So your skill set that you're really good at, you get moved out of that position. Now what we're saying is, hey, stay in that position for as long as you'd like, but grow a team around you and have the support network and the pain taken away from you of the piece of the business that you probably don't want to do. And like you say, for a couple of £100 a month to go and do that, the risk is absolutely minimal, because like we said earlier, if it doesn't work, you don't like us, we don't add the value. Now hopefully that's not the case, but it's costing you a couple of £100, and like I say, you press a button, download the contacts and leave. Now we don't want you to do that, but that option's there. So you know, the risk for us is huge, but we downplay that with what we offer. And again, setting up an agency, you can go and do it. Don't get me wrong, I'm certainly not saying don't do it, but do it the right way, and do it a way where you're not spending £100,000 or whatever it is to go and do that. And do it supported by the biggest real estate company in the world that are in 30 countries. So this isn't just a whim that's kind of worked in the States and we've got really big. We're in Romania, we're in Vietnam, we're everywhere you wouldn't expect us to be. We are, and we're successful. So 99% of our market centres, our hubs if you like, are profitable, and that's because we know what we're doing. We've evolved this out. So come and do it and be supported, rather than do it in isolation. And for me, the reason I'm back here is because it will slingshot you, and it's going to slingshot me to where I want to get to, and the agents that come on and work with us will hopefully slingshot them as well with us. And I think that's key. I think that's really, really key, and that's certainly part of why I'm here.
Yeah, it's an unusual setup and an unusual opportunity to be able to do that and set people up in that fashion as easily as that, isn't it? I think loads of people, and when I ask people that magic question about what would you do in life if you knew you couldn't fail, and nearly everyone says they do something different to what they're currently doing. Because if they knew they couldn't fail, the vast majority of people that I know would say, if I knew I couldn't fail, I'd start my own company. Why would you do that? Because I can work when I want to, I can do it the way I want to, I can create bigger opportunity. But fear is the thing. Frankly, my view is, and you know this, fear is the emotion that makes a mess of so many people's lives anyway. And what we're trying to do from a point of view of being in real estate is, let's remove the fear, let's remove the reasons to have fear, so that your risk is mitigated. Get on with it, give it a go, see what happens. Because here, you can't fall, really. If it's not for you, then you do something else. But if it is for you, the upsides are extraordinary. Look, am I biased? For sure, but I certainly don't have to be here. I didn't have to join this company. I decided to because I think it's unusual and grand and pretty wonderful. So clearly I recommend it to others.
Yeah, and I think where we're in such a fortunate position in the UK is on the world map, the UK is seen as a gem. So what Ben's done very well and what I've managed to do is surround ourselves with some of the best people in estate agency or real estate on the planet. So even if you don't like Ben and I during this interview, we have surrounded ourselves by volume the biggest agent in North America. They think the world, but they can't measure Russia and China and a couple of other places. But we have created a hub or an environment where we are supported by the very best people in this industry. And if you ask me, I'd say in the UK, we're probably 5 to maybe 8 years behind the rest of the world, certainly North America. So what we're doing here is bringing over the expertise of guys that have 12 years ago were running cable or were close to having absolutely no money, and their reason why was to go and feed their kids, that are now, as I say, some of the best estate agents on the planet. And that, and we're surrounding ourselves with them, and we're bringing in tools and tactics and all sorts of absolutely great stuff that we just wouldn't think of in the UK. One of my accountability partner, he struggles converting his market appraisals, or he has done previously. So we looked at what he could do differently, how he could, mapping out his process, 1 or 2 tips or tricks that he could implement that would fundamentally lift his conversion ratio. And he's done that in the past couple of months. And he's in a lovely area in North London, average fee of about £20,000. And he's bringing on a load more stock since we've started it. Now that idea didn't start with me, it started with Ben and I surrounding ourselves with amazing people that have thought outside the box for so long. They don't just sit and wait for the phone to ring from Rightmove or Zoopla. They go out and they fight and they earn, they become bastions of their community. They're so sharp. And that's what we're bringing over to the UK. And I don't think the UK's ever seen it. I really, really don't. And like Ben said, it's a privilege to be able to give that back to our agents.
So, Chris, I've got to say, bastions of their community. This is whole new language I've ever heard from you, chap.
Yeah.
So, look, fundamentally, you can't, by accident, you don't arrive as the #1 training company in the world. And Forbes, at the end of the last year, we were really pleased, as Forbes said that we are now the happiest company to work for in the world. And number 2 being Nike. And I'm a big fan of Phil Knight, that set up Nike, a pretty amazing story and not a bad company. So to get those types of accolades means we must be getting something right. So anyway, look, I hope this conversation has been of some use and that there's some content there that you like. And if it resonates, then DM Chris or myself and get in touch. We'd love to hear from you if you want to find out any more details. So thanks very much for tuning in and listening. Take care.
Cheers.